Alien girl to human. Stop looking at my tail. Also alien girl. Do you like it? Kale didn't look away. His eyes were glued to the thick, scaled appendage coiling and uncoiling behind her, tipped with a blade-like, chitinous barb that glinted in the flickering emergency lights of the derelict starship. He'd been scavenging the dreadnought of Xylos, a relic from the last stellar war, for 3 standard cycles, thinking he had it all to himself. This wasn't part of the salvage manifest. This woman, if she could be called that, was built like a war-sculpted mech, all hard angles and simmering power. Her skin, a dark obsidian sheen, was crisscrossed with lines of faint, bioluminescent light that throbbed with her breathing, especially across her high cheekbones and down her powerful corded neck. And then there was the tail. It's impressive. Kale finally managed, his voice a little rougher than he liked. He wasn't scared. Not exactly. Scared was when your thrusters blew out 3 clicks from an asteroid field. This was more. Eddie stunned. And a little horny, which was a dangerous combination. He tightened his grip on his plasma cutter, though he knew it was probably useless. She wore something that looked like living armor, shifting subtly with her movements, and her eyes, 2 pools of molten gold, never left his face. She'd found him in the auxiliary reactor chamber, a place he thought was secure. He'd been about to tap a power conduit when she'd simply appeared, a shadow among shadows, materializing as if from the hull itself. You speak the common tongue. Her voice was a low hum, a resonant thrumming from the nodes in her throat, surprisingly musical beneath the predatory edge. It vibrated through the metal deck plates. That is, the convenient. Your species is rare in these sectors. Human, she pronounced it with a hint of disdain, like a particularly stubborn rustworm. You trespass. This is consecrated ground. My ground. Look, lady, I don't know what consecrated means in your language, but this wreck has been listed as abandoned for decades. I'm just here for the scrap. No harm, no foul. Kale tried to keep his tone light, a deflective shield, but his gaze kept drifting back to her tail. It was thick at the base, tapering to that deadly barb, covered in iridescent scales that shimmered even in the dim light. It twitched, like a curious predator's limb, and for the record, I didn't see any no trespassing signs. Just a lot of dead things and a damn good chance of tetanus. She took a step closer, her form shifting, the bioluminescent lines flaring. A low growl rumbled in her throat. The ground itself is the warning, scavenger. This vessel is not abandoned. It is consecrated, a tomb, and I am its guardian. My name is Vax. She extended a hand, her digits long and tipped with sharp black claws, and lightly traced a pattern on the grimy deck. The bioluminescence from her skin seemed to intensify, pulsing, casting strange shadows on the old metal. You are Bite. Kale. Kale Vance, just a guy trying to make a living. He offered a small, hesitant smile. So, Vax, guardian of the dead starship, what exactly are you going to do about my trespassing? Because, just spitballing here, you don't look like the type to file a formal complaint with the planetary authorities. His eyes, despite his best efforts, dropped again to the hypnotic sway of her tail. She watched him, a slow, knowing smile spreading across her lips, revealing teeth that were a little too pointed. My people, the Varkin, do not file complaints, she purred, the sound almost a growl. We file claims. And you, Kale Vance, are on my claim. Your fascination with my caudal appendage suggests a certain appreciation for Varkin anatomy. The barb at the end of her tail twitched, then slowly curled around the plasma cutter he still held, plucking it from his grasp with surprising gentleness, yet utter finality. Perhaps, she continued, her golden eyes locking onto his, you would like to experience what it means to truly claim something of the Varkin. Her gaze dropped pointedly to his crotch. Kale's jaw tightened. Or be claimed by it, he swore. This was not how he'd expected his scavenging run to end. Whoa there, big fella, Kale said, raising his hands, palms outward. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Claiming, being claimed, sounds like a lot of paperwork, or a lot of pain. I'm usually more of a shake hands and walk away kind of guy. He tried to project calm, but his heart was thumping a frantic rhythm against his ribs. She tilted her head, a slow, predatory movement, the humming in her throat nodes deepening. The bioluminescent lines on her body pulsed, seemingly in time with his own racing pulse. Her tail, still holding his plasma cutter, slowly snaked its way up his leg, a light, almost teasing touch that sent a jolt up his spine. The barb, while not pressing, was undeniably present. And, about the tail. Because it's just, you know, not something you see every day on a human. Anatomical curiosity. That's all. Vax chuckled, a low, throaty sound that was both amused and dangerous. Anatomical curiosity? My people interpret such curiosity as interest, possession. We do not gaze idly upon what we do not wish to possess, especially not a male upon a female's barb. Her tail pressed slightly harder, making him instinctively tense. You desire it, human, or perhaps you merely fear it. Her eyes narrowed. Which is it, Cale Vance? Her voice was softer now, almost a whisper, but it resonated with a power that left him breathless. The air in the chamber felt thick, charged. He could feel the heat radiating off her, a strange, exotic warmth that smelled faintly of ozone and something musky, primal. Before Cale could formulate a suitably sarcastic and non-committal answer, a harsh klaxon blared through the ancient ship, cutting through the heavy silence. A red warning light flashed erratically above them. Intrusion, Vax stated, her golden eyes snapping away from him, scanning the darkened corridors. Another trespasser. Her tone was cold, flat, but not one seeking scrap. She dropped his plasma cutter, which clattered to the deck. Her tail whipped back to her side, poised like a striking viper. These are not mere scavengers. These are trackers. My father's hounds. Cale felt a chill that had nothing to do with the ship's ancient climate control. Your father's hounds? What, did you run away from home? 'Cause that sounds like a family drama I definitely don't want to be a part of. His voice was still laced with sarcasm, but the edge of genuine concern was evident. He knew trouble when he heard it, and that klaxon wasn't a standard ship alarm. It was an interdiction signal. Military grade. She hadn't run away. She was being hunted. He glanced at the plasma cutter, then back at Vax, who was already moving, flowing through the shadows with silent grace. A simple matter, human. We will deal with them. Vax turned, her gaze sweeping over him with an unnerving intensity. You will accompany me. Your knowledge of this decaying vessel's passages may be useful. Before he could argue, she grabbed his wrist, her grip like iron, and pulled him along. Her skin felt strangely warm, almost slick. He stumbled to keep up, his boots sliding on the greasy deck plating. Do not slow me, Cale Vance. Their purpose here is not to salvage. It is to retrieve, to reclaim what they believe is theirs, what I believe is mine. Her hum deepened, a low, threatening rumble that vibrated through his bones. And if you hinder me, I will show you what a Varkan warrior does to that which impedes her. He didn't doubt her for a second. This was not a choice. It was an order. The ship shuddered, a heavy thud echoing through the hull plates. They were boarding. Footsteps, heavy and rhythmic, pounded through the distant corridors. Vax pulled him into a narrow maintenance shaft, the air thick with the smell of old oil and ozone. Her grip never wavered. They know this ship's schematics, she hissed, her glowing eyes fixed on a data screen embedded in the shaft wall, displaying a partial layout. Standard Imperial-era layout, predictable. But this vessel, it has secrets. They do not, and I have lived among them. Her voice was filled with a fierce pride. Cale, crammed against her in the confined space, could feel every ripple of muscle beneath her armor. The bioluminescent lines on her body pulsed wildly, reflecting off the grimy metal of the shaft. He could feel the warmth radiating from her. Intoxicating and dangerous. Secrets, huh? Like what? A hidden stash of ancient booze? Cale managed, trying to inject some levity. Despite the growing panic in his gut, the shaft was barely wide enough for two, and his elbow kept bumping her hip. Her tail, he noticed, was tucked tightly against her side, occasionally brushing his thigh. It felt incredibly strange, not quite skin, not quite bone. He swallowed, forcing himself to focus. Look, if they're your father's hounds, maybe you should just surrender. Get this over with. I'm a civilian. I don't need to be caught in the middle of some alien family squabble. Surrender? Vax snarled, her humming throat nodes flaring with contempt. A Varkan does not surrender. Not to the patriarchy. Not to hounds sent to drag a free warrior back to the bonding rites. Her words were spat out, sharp and bitter. They desire to claim me, to force me into union with a male I do not choose, a male unworthy of my essence. They believe the ritual of exile weakens me, makes me compliant. Her gold eyes burned, locking onto his. They are gravely mistaken. She pressed closer, using her considerable strength to physically shift his body to allow her to access a hidden panel in the shaft wall. Your small frame has its uses, she murmured. A perverse compliment. She initiated a sequence, and a section of the wall slid open, revealing a darker, dustier passage beyond. Yeah, well, my small frame also comes with a fully functioning fight-or-flight response. And right now, flight is looking pretty damn good, Kale muttered, pushing past her into the new passage. The air here was even colder, drier. He heard the distant shouts of the mercenaries, their voices distorted by the ship's labyrinthine corridors. They were close. So, bonding rites, huh? Is that like an arranged marriage? You getting cold feet about some big, ugly alien dude? He knew he was baiting her, but it was instinct. A coping mechanism. Keep them talking, keep them off balance. Vax stepped through the opening, her form a graceful shadow against the dim light filtering from the main shaft. The Varkan bond is not a marriage, human. It is a claiming. A ritual of domination and essence sharing that binds two warriors for life. My father wishes me bonded to Zykar, a male whose essence is weak, whose honor is manufactured. He believes it will secure his lineage. I would sooner carve out my own throat with my tail barb than submit. She paused, then turned, her bioluminescent eyes scanning his face. You find this amusing, Kale Vance? Her voice was dangerously soft. Amusing? No, not amusing. Just, which sounds like a shitty situation, Cal said quickly. Arranged marriages are never fun. I mean, I've seen the holovids. Always ends in tears or, space murder. He shifted, trying to find some purchase on the slippery deck. So what? You're exiled because you refused a forced marriage. That's kind of rough. Even for aliens. He realized he was showing empathy. Dangerous. He tried to pull back. Still, doesn't mean I need to die with you in some glorified alien divorce proceeding. Your shitty situation is my defiance, Vax corrected, her voice sharp. And this is not a divorce proceeding. This is a battle for my freedom. And now, yours. She moved forward, her steps silent, a hunter in her element. Do you hear them? Their footfalls are heavy. Their armor clanks. They are well equipped, but they lack the ancestral knowledge of this vessel's spirit. They are blind. Her golden eyes gleamed. But we are not. She reached out, her hand brushing his arm. A spark of something passing between them that wasn't just static electricity. Show me the way, scavenger. Your flight instinct may yet prove useful. He felt a strange compulsion to obey, to show her every hidden passage, every secret crevice he'd discovered in his scavenging. Maybe it was her voice, or the feel of her skin, or the lingering touch of her tail, or maybe he just liked the idea of sticking it to the patriarchy. They moved deeper into the ship's forgotten guts. Kale leading the way through passages he'd painstakingly mapped, Vax a silent, lethal presence behind him. Her humming throat nodes pulsed with a steady rhythm, a low hum that filled the confined spaces. The bioluminescence on her skin flared whenever she moved, casting ghostly patterns on the corroding bulkheads. He was acutely aware of her every breath, the subtle shift of her living armor, the occasional brush of her tail against his leg. It was unnerving, mesmerizing, and he was getting used to it. This way, Cal whispered, pointing to a ventilation shaft too small for a normal human, let alone the armored mercenaries. connects to the main power conduits, then loops back to the observation deck. It's a long crawl, but it's unseen. He peered at Vax. You're a bit large for this, aren't you? Vax scoffed, the hum in her throat deepening. My form is flexible. Kale Vance. My Varkan ancestors shaped themselves to their environment. Do not mistake elegance for weakness. She watched him, her golden eyes glinting. You have navigated these tunnels? You know the ship's veins? I've crawled through every piss-stained, rust-ridden conduit in this heap, he retorted, a smirk playing on his lips. Been here long enough to call the rustworms by name? So yeah, I know the veins, and the arteries, and the whatever the hell else. He ducked into the shaft, the metal groaning softly as he squeezed through. He heard Vax follow, the sound of her shifting limbs against the metal, a low, guttural grunt as she contorted her body. See, told you, he grunted, inching forward. A simple matter, Vax responded, her voice tight, a little strained, but still carrying that imperious tone. He glanced back, seeing the dark, iridescent scales of her tail following close behind him, a flash of the barb. The bioluminescent lines on her arms glowed brighter in the dark. Your human anatomy, while less efficient, has its good advantages in certain confinements. The flexibility allows for greater concealment. A warrior must adapt. He could feel her breath on his neck, warm and alien. The air was thick with the scent of ozone and her strange, musky pheromones. It was a potent combination, making his skin prickle. They crawled for what felt like an eternity, the shouts of the mercenaries growing fainter behind them. Then, Vax stopped. Pressure fluctuations, she hummed, her voice a low thrum against his back. They are breaking through the central bulkheads. They will find us. They will expect us to proceed to an exit. Predictable tactics. She pressed a hand against the wall of the shaft, her glowing palm outlining a section of the wall. This wall, weak. I can breach it. Breach it to where? Kale asked, his voice muffled by the confined space. We break out of here, we're still in a derelict ship. They're probably sweeping every major section to the consecration chamber, Vax stated, her voice imbued with a strange reverence. The heart of this tomb ship. They will not anticipate us there. It is sacred ground, forbidden to the uninitiated. She looked at him, her eyes gleaming. And it is where we will enact a ritual of defiance. Her hand pulsed against the wall, and Kale felt a faint tremor. And perhaps, she added, her voice dropping to a seductive purr, a ritual of exchange. His eyes widened. He had a bad feeling about ritual of exchange. With a sudden burst of power, Vax pushed, and the old metal groaned, tearing open with a shriek of tortured steel. Dust and debris rained down. Kale coughed, rubbing his eyes. He found himself in a vast, circular chamber, dimly lit by phosphorescent fungi clinging to the walls. In the center, a large, crystalline altar pulsed with a soft, ethereal blue light. Strange, alien glyphs adorned the walls, and the air crackled with a silent energy. What the hell is this place? Kale breathed, gazing around. The consecration chamber. It felt ancient, sacred, and profoundly unsettling. Vax stepped through the breach, her form silhouetted against the broken wall, looking like a deity emerging from a chrysalis. This is where my ancestors came to bond their spirits to the lineage, where claims were made and power transferred, where the Varkan chose their mates. She walked towards the altar, her steps echoing in the vast space. Her bioluminescence intensified, mirroring the pulsing light of the crystal. They will not follow us here. They fear the purity of the ancestors, the unyielding power of the ancient ways. She turned, her gaze sweeping over him, taking him in from head to toe. You, however, are already tainted, unbound, unburdened by Varkan purity. You are a vessel. Her voice was a low hum, almost a chant. And now you will serve. Kale felt a shiver crawl up his spine, not of fear but of anticipation. Serve what, exactly? Your ancestors, or just you? Because if it's the latter, maybe we can negotiate a less Ritualistic approach. I'm more of a dinner and a movie guy. He tried to sound flippant, but his eyes were drawn to the altar, to the way the blue light seemed to emanate from Vax's very being. She was connected to this place, to this power. He swallowed. Vax ignored his sarcasm, her eyes fixed on his. You will be my vessel, Cale Vance. My counterclaim. A declaration against the patriarchy. They seek to bind me to a weak male. I will bind myself to a defiance. She raised her hands, and the bioluminescent lines on her arms glowed intensely. You will offer your essence, your strength, and in return, you will gain my protection. My claim. Her voice resonated, growing louder, vibrating with the chamber's energy. The ritual is ancient, Cale Vance. It is a dominance display, a sharing of life force. And it begins now. Cale felt a strange pull, an invisible tether drawing him closer to her, to the pulsing altar. His skin tingled, and he felt lightheaded. He wanted to resist, to run, but his feet felt rooted to the spot. Wait. Hold on. Dominance display? Sharing life force? Cale stammered, feeling a sudden surge of alarm. Look, I'm a scavenger, not a sacrifice. I didn't sign up for any blood oaths, or whatever the hell this is. He tried to backpedal, but the pull was undeniable, drawing him, step by agonizing step, towards the altar. The air thickened, buzzing with unseen energy. The blue light from the crystal flared, illuminating every bioluminescent line on Vax's body, making her seem almost ethereal, yet terribly real. Do you resist, human? Vax's voice was a low growl laced with a dangerous edge. Her tail swished, the barb flickering in the light. A stark warning. Resistance is weakness, and the ritual demands strength. It demands submission, or it demands extinction. Her eyes, molten gold, bore into his, stripping away his bravado. You will not die, not yet, but you will learn what it means to be claimed by a Varkan. She extended a hand towards him, her long, clawed fingers flexing, and Cale felt a sudden, sharp pain in his chest, as if an invisible thread was tightening around his heart. He stumbled forward, almost falling. What the fuck are you doing? He gasped, his voice raw. He could feel energy coursing through his veins, hot and alien, not his own. It was exhilarating, terrifying. His skin felt too tight, too sensitive. The world around him seemed to sharpen, colors more vivid, sounds more acute. He could feel the low thrum of the ship's ancient systems, the distant footsteps of the approaching mercenaries, even the faint vibrations of the planet's core. I am binding us, Vax stated, her voice now a deep, resonant hum that filled the chamber, vibrating through his bones. Through resonance, through will, you are accepting my claim. Your body is reacting to the Varkan essence. It prepares you. She closed the distance between them, her hand reaching out, her fingers pressing lightly against his sternum, right over his heart. A jolt, pure and intense, shot through him. He gasped, his back arching. Her touch was searing, yet somehow profoundly intimate. He could feel her essence, cold and sharp, mingling with his own, hot and chaotic. Her golden eyes dilated, fixed on his, and he felt a presence, ancient and vast, reaching into his mind. Mind. The thought wasn't spoken, but imprinted directly onto his consciousness. A command, a truth. He saw flashes of her world, the red dust of Varkan Prime, the towering spires of the patriarchy, the rigid, unyielding rituals. He saw her defiance, her exile, her hunger for freedom. It was overwhelming, a torrent of raw emotion. What are you doing? Kyle rasped, his voice barely a whisper. His body was trembling, a violent tremor that shook him to the core. He could feel his own essence, his own life force, mingling with hers, swirling, intertwining. It was a profound violation, yet also a strange, addictive draw. The pain in his chest was a dull ache now, replaced by a burning sensation that spread through his limbs. I am taking what is mine, Vax whispered, her face inches from his. Her eyes were pools of molten gold, swirling with ancient power. Her scent, ozone and musk, filled his lungs, intoxicating him. Her hand slid from his chest, down his torso, her touch searing a path across his skin, beneath the thin fabric of his clothes. He felt the cold touch of her claws as she undid his belt, then his pants. "You will be my vessel, my champion, my mate." She pulled him close, her body pressing against his. The bioluminescent lines on her skin pulsed faster, brighter, mirroring the frenetic beat of his heart. Her tail coiled around his leg, its barb lightly tracing patterns on his inner thigh. This is the true bonding, Cale Vance. The claim, the surrender. You will feel my essence, and you will give me yours. Her head dipped, and her humming throat nodes pressed against his neck, sending shivers through him. He felt a sharp, exquisite pain, and then a warmth spreading like wildfire. She was marking him. A bioluminescent pattern, faint but undeniable, blossomed on his skin where her nodes had touched, echoing the marks on her own body. A low growl rumbled in her chest, and she pulled back, her eyes gleaming with a mixture of triumph and primal hunger. The chamber pulsed around them, the blue light from the altar intensifying, reflecting in her feral gaze. "You are marked," Vax stated, her voice rough, guttural, claimed. "Now show me the strength of your species, human. Show me why I chose you as my defiance." Her hand dropped to his waist, gripping him tightly. Her other hand reached up, cupping his face, her thumb tracing the line of his jaw. Her grip was possessive, almost bruising. His body was vibrating, humming with the strange alien energy she'd imbued him with. He felt a primal urge to respond, to take, to claim in turn. He was no longer just Cale Vance, scavenger. He was something else now, something connected to this powerful, dangerous alien woman. He was her counterclaim. Her gaze burned into his, and he could feel her probing his thoughts, stripping away his composure. His body reacted, a primal, inescapable urge building within him. The air thrummed with a heavy sexual energy that emanated from her, from the chamber, from the bond now coursing through his veins. She was hot, radiating raw heat, and he was inexplicably drawn to it. The metallic tang of her scent filled his nose, sharpening his senses. "Chosen?" Cale scoffed, a shaky laugh escaping his lips. "You practically dragged me here, lady," and marked. "What the hell does that even mean? Am I glowing? Because if I'm glowing, I'm gonna kick your shiny alien ass." His bravado was a flimsy shield, barely hiding the overwhelming arousal that was gripping him. He could feel her tail brush against his hardening cock, a deliberate, sensual move that made him clench his jaw. "It means you are mine," Vax purred, her golden eyes dropping to his groin, then back to his face. "It means your essence is now linked to mine, and no other will claim you. The mark signifies your submission to my will, your acceptance of my essence." She leaned closer, her hot breath ghosting over his lips. "And you will not kick my ass, human. You will submit to my claiming. You will join me in the ritual. You will fill me." Her voice was a low command, almost a chant, vibrating through the newly formed bond. The blue light from the altar intensified, casting dancing shadows across her obsidian skin, illuminating the bioluminescent lines that pulsed with a frenetic rhythm. Her claws, surprisingly gentle, went to his zipper, easing it open. Cale watched, mesmerized, his breath catching in his throat. This wasn't how he planned his day. He was a survivor, a cynic, not some willing participant in an alien mating ritual. But his body, infused with her strange energy, was already betraying him. He was rock hard, throbbing against her fingers. "Submission, huh? That's a strong word, Vax," Cale managed, his voice hoarse. "I usually prefer enthusiastic cooperation." He tried to inject some sarcasm, but it came out as a weak, desperate plea. His gaze was fixed on her mouth, those pointed teeth, the way her lower lip glistened. She was exquisite, terrifying, and utterly captivating. Vax's full lips curled into a predatory smile. "Enthusiastic cooperation, then, Cale Vance. Let us call it what you wish."
The outcome, however, will be the same.
She pushed his pants down, then his underwear, revealing him. Her golden eyes widened slightly. A flicker of raw surprise, then approval. Impressive. For a human. The rumors are not exaggerated. Her tail, still wrapped around his leg, tightened, drawing him closer. The barb brushed lightly against his scrotum, a provocative tease that made him groan. She knelt, her movements fluid, graceful, almost animalistic. The living armor shifted, revealing more of her obsidian skin, more of the pulsing bioluminescent lines. The scent of ozone and musk intensified, filling his senses, overwhelming his logic. He watched, helpless, as she brought her head closer, her humming throat nodes vibrating with a deep, sensual rhythm. Her tongue, surprisingly human-like but with a faint, rough texture, flicked out, tasting him. Kale gasped, his hands clenching into fists at his sides, then reaching out, tangling in her sleek, dark hair. The sensations were overwhelming. Her touch, her mouth, the hum against his skin, the telepathic echo of her hunger in his mind. It was a full-body assault, a primal claiming that stripped away all resistance. He felt the ancient power of the chamber, the pulsing blue light, the newly forged bond between them, all culminating in this raw, intimate act. He was no longer just an observer, but a participant, drawn into a ritual far older than himself. He gasped her name. A desperate sound ripped from his throat as his hips bucked, an involuntary response to the intense pleasure. She was dominant, unyielding, yet her actions were also laced with an undeniable, fierce desire that mirrored his own. He came hard, a guttural roar escaping his throat as his essence poured into her. Or perhaps for the bioluminescent mark on his neck pulsed with a blinding flash, a sharp, searing pain that quickly faded into an ecstatic thrum. He felt a jolt, as if something ancient within him had awakened, intertwining with her very being. The telepathic bond flared, and he felt her triumphant pleasure, her satisfaction, deep within his own mind. It was overwhelming, alien, and utterly profound. He gasped for air, his legs trembling, his entire body alight with a residual energy. Vax rose, her eyes gleaming with a primal satisfaction, her dark skin shimmering with the lingering bioluminescent light. Her tail, still around his leg, squeezed, a proprietary gesture. "You have surrendered your essence, Cale Vance," she purred, her voice a low, throaty hum. "You have accepted my claim. The mark of our resonance is upon you. You are now truly mine, my champion." She reached down, her clawed fingers finding the bioluminescent pattern on his neck, tracing it. It was still faintly glowing, a mirror of the similar markings on her own body. "You have completed the first stage of the ritual." Cale leaned against the cold metal of the altar, trying to catch his breath. "First stage? What the hell, Vax? What else is there? Because I'm pretty sure I just gave you everything I've got, and my damn neck is still glowing." He felt a strange combination of physical exhaustion and an almost manic energy, a buzzing in his bones that hadn't been there before. His body felt different, heightened, sensitive. "The claim is made," Vax stated, her gaze intense, almost possessive. "Now it must be deepened. The resonance, Cale Vance, is a dual essence. It demands a full merging, a complete integration." She stepped closer, her body radiating heat, the musky scent of her arousal thick in the air. Her eyes, molten gold, held his. "You have given me your strength. Now, you must take mine." Her tail snaked up his body, coiling around his waist, pulling him flush against her. He could feel the hard plates of her living armor against his bare skin, the soft give of her flesh underneath. Her humming throat nodes vibrated against his ear, and he felt another, deeper wave of her essence flowing into him, mingling, melding. "Take your—" "What?" Cale mumbled, his mind reeling. The energy was building again, but this time it felt mutual, a reciprocal exchange. He found himself responding, his hands reaching for her, gripping her hips, pulling her even closer, his erection, miraculously, was already rising again, hardened by the alien energy. My dominance, Vax whispered, her lips brushing his. My claim, my very self. And then she kissed him. A deep, consuming kiss that tasted of ozone and power and raw desire. Her tongue slightly rough, tangled with his. Exploring, demanding. It was an act of possession, a merging of wills as much as bodies. He felt her shift, her armor moving, and she guided him, with strong, knowing hands, until he was pressed against her, hard and ready. The altar pulsed brighter, humming with the burgeoning energy. No turning back now, huh? Kale rasped against her lips, his voice thick with a mix of fear and fervent arousal. There is no turning back from a Varkin claim. Kale Vance, Vax growled, her golden eyes burning into his. She guided him, with a powerful, deliberate thrust, deep inside her. He cried out, a guttural sound of shock and exquisite sensation. She was tight, incredibly hot, and the ancient energy of the chamber seemed to coalesce around them, binding them. They moved together, a primal dance of dominance and surrender, passion and power. Kale's thrusts were driven by instinct, by the overwhelming pleasure, but also by the alien essence now coursing through him, urging him to claim in return. Vax met him thrust for thrust, her hips grinding against his, her tail lashing around them, occasionally brushing his lower back, reminding him of her ultimate control. Her humming throat nodes vibrated against his ear, sending waves of pure raw pleasure through him. He felt her essence, her deep, powerful will, infuse his own, and a new understanding dawned within him. This wasn't just sex. It was a ritual of binding, a forging of two disparate beings into something new, something intrinsically linked. He felt the climax build, a powerful, explosive wave, not just his own, but hers too, a shared peak amplified by the resonance between them. As he spilled into her, a deep, guttural moan escaping his lips, Vax cried out, a high, triumphant sound that echoed through the ancient chamber. The bioluminescent mark on his neck flared, a burst of bright light that reflected in her golden eyes, and then, as quickly as it came, it faded to a dull throb. He felt a deep, profound connection, an undeniable bond that settled deep in his core. He was claimed, and he had, in turn, claimed her. They lay tangled on the floor of the consecration chamber, the phosphorescent fungi casting an ethereal glow on their sweat-sheened bodies. Kyle was breathing heavily, his head resting against Vax's shoulder, the rhythmic hum of her throat nodes a steady thrum against his ear. The air in the chamber, still thick with the aftermath of their union, crackled with residual energy. He felt utterly spent, yet strangely invigorated, the alien energy still buzzing in his veins, leaving him hypersensitive to every sensation. So, Kale whispered, his voice rough, is that it? Am I officially your vessel now? Because my neck still feels like it's trying to grow a new appendage, and frankly I'm a little confused. He lifted his head, peering at the faint bioluminescent pattern on his skin. It was subtle now, a faint, almost invisible tracing that only caught the light from the altar. Vax shifted, her tail wrapping more securely around his waist, pulling him closer until he was spooned against her formidable back. It is done. The ritual is complete. The resonance is established. Her voice was a low hum, softer now, without the sharp edge of command. You are bound to me, Kale Vance, not as a slave, but as a claimed one. A partner in defiance. My mate. She turned her head slightly, her golden eyes finding his. There was a vulnerability there now, a raw honesty that stripped away the warrior's facade. The patriarchy will sense the claiming. They will know I have bonded. This ship, my sanctuary, will now become a beacon. Kale sighed, running a hand through his hair. Great. So, not only am I stuck with you and your glow-in-the-dark tattoos, now your angry dad and his muscle-bound goons are going to show up and try to kill us both. Fantastic. He closed his eyes, already picturing the heavily armed mercenaries descending on them. You know, this is way more complicated than just scavenging a few power conduits. I should have just stuck to selling spare parts on the outer rims. Do you regret it, Cale Vance? Vax asked, her voice quiet, almost hesitant. The hum in her throat nodes deepened, a sound of genuine concern. Do you regret the claim? He opened his eyes, looking at her. Her obsidian skin, still slick with sweat, pulsed faintly with residual light. Her tail, firm and warm around him, was a stark reminder of their unique bond. Regret it? He chuckled, a humorless sound. Look, a few hours ago, I was minding my own business, trying to get rich. Now I'm branded, probably going to be hunted down by some alien death squad. And I've got this resonance thing making my damn teeth itch. Do I regret it? Probably. But he paused, a strange, undeniable warmth spreading through his chest, settling beside the buzzing energy. But it was also intense. And you're not exactly boring, Vax. He reached out, his hand hesitantly tracing the bioluminescent lines on her shoulder. And the whole chosen defiance thing is kinda compelling. I've always been a sucker for an underdog. Or a dominant alien warrior who needs my small frame. Vax stiffened slightly at his touch, then relaxed into it, a low rumble emanating from her throat. Your species, Cale Vance, is a strange one. You speak of regret and boredom in the same breath as intensity and compulsion. She tilted her head back, looking at him, her gold eyes searching his. The Varkan bond, once established, is for life. It is not easily broken. It cannot be regretted away. She reached up, her clawed hand gently cupping his jaw. The patriarchy will seek to sever it. To reclaim my essence, they will believe you are a weakness, a simple human, easily discarded. Her eyes narrowed. They are fools. You are my strength, my defiance. And they will learn to fear the bond. The klaxon blared again, closer this time, and heavy bootfalls echoed in the corridor outside the chamber. They were here. Vax's eyes sharpened, the vulnerability vanishing, replaced by the fierce, dominant warrior he'd first encountered. She stood, pulling Cale up with her, her living armor shifting, settling into place. They come for their ritual. They're reclaiming, she growled, her voice a low, dangerous hum. But they will find only a battle, and a truth they cannot comprehend. She grabbed her plasma cutter from the floor, the one she'd disarmed him with earlier, and tossed it to him. He caught it, surprised. Your weapon, Cale Vance. You will need it. You are my sword, my shield, my bound. She smiled, a flash of pointed teeth. And they will discover that a human bound to a Varkan cannot be easily dismissed. Cale hefted the plasma cutter, the familiar weight a comfort in his hand. He looked at Vax standing tall and proud before him, her bioluminescent lines pulsing with renewed vigor. She was magnificent and completely insane. And now, somehow, right, he muttered, activating the weapon with a familiar hum. Sword and shield, huh? Just as long as I don't have to wear one of those glowing suits. And maybe, just maybe, when this is all over, you can explain what exactly resonance does to a man's dental hygiene. He cracked a sarcastic smile. The old Cale, but there was a new, fierce light in his eyes. Later, Cale Vance. If we survive this, Vax retorted, her eyes gleaming. And we will survive, a Varkan and her claimed. Do not fall. We rise. She stalked towards the entrance to the chamber, her tail sweeping behind her, ready for battle. Cale followed, a strange, exhilarated dread coursing through him. He was a scavenger, a wreck survivor, now bonded to an alien warrior queen. His life was officially over, or just beginning. The roar of the mercenaries, their heavy boots thudding closer, shook the ancient ship. Vax stopped at the threshold of the consecration chamber, her form silhouetted against the dim corridor, a predatory statue. They do not understand the sacredness of this place. They seek to desecrate it with their presence, with their weak claims, she humbled, a low, guttural vibration that Cale felt deep in his bones. They believe force will reassert their dominion. Her eyes, molten gold, glowed fiercely in the gloom. But this is not a matter of force, Cale Vance. This is a matter of spirit, of the bond. She glanced back at him, her gaze piercing. Are you prepared to face the patriarchy, human? Kale gripped his plasma cutter tighter, the buzzing energy from their bond still thrumming beneath his skin. He took a deep breath, the musky scent of Vax filling his lungs. Look, lady, I've faced worse than an angry dad and his cronies. I once had a run-in with a sentient slime mold that tried to convert my ship into a fungal spore chamber. Your patriarchy can't be that bad. He tried to sound flippant, but his heart was pounding. This was different. This wasn't just survival. It was defending her. And maybe, a little bit, defending his newly acquired glowing mark. The slime mold did not seek to sever your essence from its very core, human. Vax countered, her voice dangerously quiet. Nor did it attempt to annul a sacred claiming. She extended her hand, her clawed fingers beckoning him closer. The resonance between us, it flows now. You will feel their fear, their weakness. You will see their lack of true power. She took his hand, her grip firm, almost painful. Kale felt a jolt, a surge of power, and suddenly, the distant mercenary shouts didn't sound so menacing. They sounded confused, disoriented.
What is that?
Kale murmured, feeling a strange surge of confidence. The energy from their bond was like a shield or a lens, sharpening his perception, amplifying his own will. He could feel Vax's resolve, her unwavering defiance, flowing into him, stealing his nerves. My will, Vax stated, her golden eyes gleaming, shared, amplified. They will attempt to break the bond, to sever you from me. Do not let them. For if the resonance breaks, both of our essences will shatter. And then you will truly know fear. She smiled, a predatory flash of teeth. But we will not break. We are bound. We are one. The first mercenary rounded the corner, a hulking figure in heavy dark armor, armed with a plasma rifle. He paused, startled, as he saw them standing in the doorway of the consecration chamber, the blue light from the altar casting an unearthly glow around them. The mercenary faltered, a low grunt escaping his helmet. Vaxilin, Bon, you have been claimed, he snarled, his voice distorted by his comms. By a dehuman? Abomination! Abomination? Vax scoffed, her humming throat nodes flaring with contempt. I am Vaxilin, daughter of the Riven Stars, and I claim my defiance. This human is my champion, my chosen, and your patriarchy has no dominion over him. Her voice boomed, resonating with the power of the chamber. Kale felt the resonance amplify her words, sending a shiver through the mercenary, who instinctively recoiled. Fire! The mercenary yelled, recovering, his plasma rifle spitting bolts of searing energy. Vax moved with blinding speed, a blur of obsidian and glowing lines. Her tail lashed out, deflecting the first bolt, sending it ricocheting off the wall. Now, Kale Vance, she snarled, her golden eyes blazing. Show them the strength of your claim. Kale didn't hesitate, fueled by the alien energy coursing through him, by the resonance that bound him to Vax. He fired. His plasma cutter hummed, a bolt of superheated energy lancing out, striking the mercenary square in the chest. The armored figure roared, stumbled back, and collapsed with a sickening thud. The energy felt right, natural in his hand, an extension of his own heightened senses. That's how you deal with judgmental assholes, Vax. Kale grunted, a grin stretching across his face. He felt a surge of exhilaration, a primal thrill. This wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about proving something. To them. To her. To himself. He was Kale Vance. And he was Vax's chosen, damn it. More mercenaries poured into the corridor, their heavy armor clanking, their rifles spitting fire. Vax met them head-on, a whirlwind of claws and powerful kicks, her tail a deadly whip, her bioluminescence a blinding display. Kale moved with her, covering her flank, picking off targets with ruthless efficiency. The resonance between them was a constant hum, a silent communication, guiding their movements, anticipating each other's needs. He felt her ferocity, her determination, and he mirrored it, his own human rage and stubbornness amplifying hers. They are surprised, Vax hummed, her voice a triumphant roar, as she disarmed another mercenary with a brutal sweep of her tail, then crushed his helmet with her boot. They expected weakness. They expected submission. But we are defiance. She turned to him, her golden eyes gleaming with feral joy. They believe the bond is a vulnerability, Cale Vance. Show them it is their end. Cale laughed, a raw, unhinged sound. My pleasure, Vax. I always liked a good fight, especially when the odds are stacked against me and I've got a pissed-off alien warrior woman as my backup. He fired another shot, taking down a merc attempting to flank them. The energy of their bond, the sheer exhilaration of fighting as one, was intoxicating. He was no longer just Cale Vance, the scavenger. He was a weapon tempered and claimed by the Varkan. And for the first time in a long time, he felt truly alive. They fought their way through the mercenary contingent, clearing the path, leaving a trail of broken armor and stunned, groaning bodies. The Patriarchy's hounds were formidable, but they were unprepared for the combined might of a Varkan warrior and her claimed human. They expected a traditional Varkan, bound by the Patriarchy's strictures, not a defiant exile who had embraced a foreign essence. Cale's human ingenuity, his knack for improvisation, blended seamlessly with Vax's raw power and ancient combat instincts. The resonance pulsed between them, a constant silent dialogue, anticipating each other's movements, reacting as one. Finally, the last mercenary fell, his comms unit sputtering before going silent. Silence descended on the corridor, broken only by Cale's heavy breathing and Vax's deep, resonant hum. She stood over the fallen, her chest heaving, the bioluminescent lines on her body pulsing with an intense, triumphant glow. Her tail twitched, a slow, satisfied sway. They did not expect this, Vax stated, her voice thick with victory. They expected me to be alone, weakened by exile, vulnerable. She turned to Cale, her golden eyes burning with an almost blinding light. They did not expect the strength of our bond, the resonance of a Varkan and a human, united in defiance. She took a step towards him, then another, her movements fluid and purposeful. Cale lowered his plasma cutter, watching her approach. No, I guess they didn't, he agreed, a shaky breath escaping him. The adrenaline was starting to fade, leaving him bone-weary, but the strange, exhilarating energy of their bond remained, thrumming beneath his skin. So, what now, Vax? They'll send more, won't they? Stronger ones. Vax stopped before him, her hand reaching out, her clawed fingers gently tracing the bioluminescent mark on his neck. It glowed faintly under her touch. They will, she confirmed, her voice a low purr. But they will not find us here. This sanctuary, this vessel, has served its purpose. It has birthed a new truth, a new claim. Her eyes searched his, a newfound softness in their depths. The resonance is strong, Cale Vance. You are more than a human. You are a Varkan's champion. My mate. She leaned in, her forehead pressing against his. He felt her warmth, her raw power, her intimate vulnerability. Mate, huh? Cale whispered, his voice a little hoarse. Still sounds like a lot of paperwork. He found himself leaning into her touch, into the strange, comforting presence of their bond. He was still Cale Vance, the smart-ass scavenger, but he was also something more, something bound, something claimed. And strangely, he wouldn't have it any other way. No paperwork, Cale Vance, Vax murmured, her lips brushing his. Only blood, and spirit, and shared defiance. She pulled back, her eyes twinkling mischievously. Now, we will find another vessel, one that is worthy of a Varkan warrior and her claimed human. And then, we will make the Patriarchy understand the true meaning of power, of defiance, of a bond that cannot be broken. She squeezed his hand, then spun, heading for a hidden exit she'd revealed to him earlier, a route he hadn't known existed. Come, Cale Vance. Our journey has just begun. And next time, try not to stare so much at my tail. She glanced back, a slow, knowing smile spreading across her lips. Unless, of course, you wish to claim it again. Cale just shook his head, a wry grin on his face. Only if you promise to stop trying to turn me into a glowing sacrifice. Vax. He followed her, his plasma cutter still warm in his hand, the strange, exhilarating energy of their bond humming in his veins. His life had just been irrevocably, and quite wonderfully, derailed, and he was ready for whatever came next. With her,